Hey vinyl community, Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and I hadn't done a video in a while, so I thought I would knock one out today showing you a little potpourri of stuff. I'm going to show you some records I've recently acquired, some VCLT, some equipment I've added to my setup, and some things like along those lines. Here we go. I'm going to first tell you what we're listening to in the background now. I don't think this is going to get censored by YouTube. This is a band called Hawktail, and the album is called Formations. It's a young acoustic instrumental group. There they are. I think I've probably shown this album before. It's a 2021 album, I believe. Really enjoy it. It's kind of along the same lines as the Tony Rice Unit or some of the David Grisman material, things like that. Kind of an acoustic mix of classical jazz and bluegrass and folk all mixed up together. So Hawktail is the name of the group. Okay, I got some great VCLT last week. I want to tell you about my friend Randy Nelson. He lives in Kansas City, and we watch each other's videos and comment on them and stuff, and have some, in a lot of ways, some similar tastes. He's introduced me to some music that I wasn't familiar with, and I hope I've done the same for him. But he sent me 3 records I was just thrilled to get. One of the commonalities between our tastes is singer-songwriter, and one of his favorite singer-songwriters is Randy Newman, and I like Randy Newman as well. I've got 2 or 3 of his albums, but I didn't have these 3 albums that he sent me, so I was really pleased to get them. The Trouble in Paradise album. This is the one that's got I Love LA, which was a hit for Randy. You know, Randy Newman, one of those guys that's more songs that other people have hits with than having them himself. It's Short People and I Love LA are, I think, the 2 I think of as Randy Newman originals that were hits for him. For the most part, it's other people. Plus, he's done a lot of soundtrack music in Hollywood in the last couple of decades too. And here's one I'm looking forward to listening to, Land of Dreams, Randy Newman. And this is a newer album, I believe. It's on None Such Records. Reprise, I believe, was Randy's label for a long time. Dark Matter. And this is a 2017 album. They should all be very interested and they're very much appreciated. Randy, thank you so much. And I look forward to them. He sent me a nice note in there noting that, wasn't sure how I felt about Randy Newman, but thought I would like him. I do like Randy Newman, and this will add greatly to my Randy Newman collection. And I do like the piano-based singer-songwriters as well. Yeah. Now, new albums. I've got a couple of new albums this spring, and I had to wait on this one a long time. This is one of those pre-orders that keeps getting delayed. The Dusky Trucks band, and this one is a 3-record set featuring Trey Anastasia, is that how you say his name, from Fish. You know, he's the guest on here, and this is Layla Revisited live at Locken. So basically, it's the Dusky Trucks band recreating or reimagining the entire Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs album. And it notes that it's a 3 LP, 180 gram black vinyl with an etching. The last side of the 6 sides only has, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes worth of music on it, and then the rest of it is an etching. And it's mastered and cut by Chris Bellman from the Analog Mixtapes. I don't know the mixers. I see a few names. I guess Chris Bellman is a important person when it comes to mastering albums, and he used analog mixtape. So I'm assuming that it's, what do they call it, AAA. It's all analog. It's not digital to analog or analog to digital back to analog. I'm assuming when they say it's from the original analog mixtapes, it's truly or purely analog. But I think if you master something well, and the quality of production is there, that you can get a good vinyl reproduction of music with digital as well as with analog, and mix the two together as needed. I know some of the old analog stuff, they've had to go in because of deterioration of the tape and stuff like that, and do some digital things to it sometimes, some of the old recordings and things like that. So anyway, really good. I've only listened to it a couple of times. Very, very good. The vinyl is very good as well. Yeah, Fantasy Records, I believe, is what that is on, and it's black vinyl. I didn't get the colored. Actually, if I had bought the colored vinyl instead of the black vinyl, I would have gotten it a month or two earlier. But I don't care anything about colored vinyl in particular. Okay, the other new record I got, the Earls of Lasher, which is a Jerry Douglas configuration, a bluegrass configuration, and you get the pun in the name, the Earls of Lasher, Earl Scruggs, and Lester being Lester Flatt. And this is a excellent group. It's a Rattle and Roar is the name of the album, and it's their second offering from, I don't know, 2018 or 19, somewhere in there, on Rounder Records. And as much as we have so many artists, and I really, not putting this down, really enjoy it, so many artists that are, jamming in a bluegrass style, doing a lot of improvisation, doing newgrass type stuff. This is really a tip of the hat back to the original sound. 3-4 minute songs with the bluegrass instrumentation and the bluegrass structure and the high harmonies and things like this. And this is really good. So Jerry Douglas, as I said, he produced it, and it's his band. And really only listened to that once so far. Just got it, and I really, really do like it. Then I purchased a few records on Steve Hoffman Forum, and I usually have good results from that. In that the music, these are fellow music lovers just selling off to buy more, or getting rid of duplicates or stuff. It's not really people just that are commercially trying to make a bunch of money selling records. And so usually the grade that they set it at is usually very accurate. So I picked this one up, Repercussion, from the DBs. And if you like power pop, I guess you'd say, or maybe jangle, this is on Albion, Albion Records in 1981. If you're familiar, this is a promo album. And Will Rigsby and Peter Halsapple, Chris Stamey, and Gene Holder. These guys grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but they all moved. There were a bunch of bands in the Winston-Salem area, in the high schools there. May have gone to R.J. Reynolds, I don't know. But there was just a strong music scene. It still is, I think. for a long time in the Winston-Salem area, and all these high school kids were putting out some really, really good music. They moved up to New York City and formed the DBs. So they want that particular band. They had been in bands together a lot, through high school and into college and stuff like that. But they actually formed in New York City, and most of their albums are on Bearsville. But this one is on a different label, Repercussion. I listened to that just one time. Very good vinyl, very good production on there. It's got a bright, clear white spot on the record that doesn't come out with a cleaning, and he had noted that when he sold it, when he had it up for sale. But it plays right through it with no interruption, and it appears to be a pressing flaw that actually doesn't affect playback. So I was glad of that. And then somebody else had several records for sale, and I had offered him, I thought his prices were maybe a little bit high, and I had offered him a price for two particular records he had, and it was maybe 20% off what he was asking, and he said, no, I'll pass. And then a month later, 2 months later, he sold, like, he had maybe 12, 15 albums he was selling. He sold down to where he had only a handful left and still hadn't sold them. So he sent me a private message in the Hoffman forum. You still want them for that price? I said, sure, I'll take them. So I was pleased to get this. The first one is an album I keep struggling to get a really good copy of. This is my third copy of the self-titled band album, their second album. And this on Capitol. And the other two copies, I just can't get a real clean copy of it. And this one's not perfect, but it's a very, very good copy. It's close to VG plus. And the other, one of them is a G plus, and one of them is a VG minus. In my terminology, a low end VG. This is a high end VG, almost a VG plus. So I was so glad to get this. I think I've got all the band albums now in my collection. Good copies of all of them. And the other album he had was one I had as a CD, but it just now recently got released as I don't know if it recently got released, but it originally wasn't released on vinyl. But this is a vinyl copy that same person had. That was Steve Earle and the Dale McClure Band. Dale McClure Band being one of the top, if not the top, bluegrass band out there performing today. And excellent, excellent album. Condition is near mint. And I will take it out of the sleeve to show you, the artwork, really good. The label, I like the label. Did you see that? See? Really nice. And this is a really good album. Really good. You would listen to it. Now, Steve Earle didn't grow up, he grew up in Texas, San Antonio area, I believe, not immersed in bluegrass. But you would think all these original songs on here, you would think they were written by someone who had, by Dale McClure or somebody, or that they were old standards. They're excellent collection of songs here, double record to include everything that was on the CD. And it's just got Yours Forever Blue, Kerry Brown. I really like Kerry Brown. That's the song that mentions it takes place in Bristol, Tennessee / Virginia. And he's got the line in there where I met him again on State Street, and I shot him in Virginia and he fell in Tennessee or something like that, because State Street is Bristol is in both states, and State Street is the dividing line between the two states. So you can, on one side of the road you're in one state, you walk to the other side of the road you're in the other state. So really they do Pilgrim on here as well, and that's a really good rendition with a lot of guests on that one. But Leroy's Dust Bowl Blues, The Mountain, Harlan Man, Graveyard Shift, Outlaw's Honeymoon, Patty on the Beat. Just an excellent bunch of music. And the Red Clay Ramblers, one of the Chapel Hill, North Carolina bands from the 70s that stayed around for a long time and did a kind of a Tin Pan Alley, old time music, jazz, 20s jazz kind of music. But I didn't have this album by them, Hard Times, and I got this. A little disappointed. It's got some major surface noise in it. Cleaned it good. I may try one more thing with it, cleaning it, and see if I could eliminate more of it. But this is a really good album. Doing, as I say, some of it sounds like it was 1920s jazz. Some sounds like it's fiddle tunes from the Appalachian Mountains. Just they're very eclectic and very entertaining. So even with the surface noise, it's an enjoyable listen. They went on around this time. You remember the playwright? He later became an actor as well. Is it Sam Shepard, the playwright? He was doing a Broadway production, and he brought the Red Clay Ramblers up from North Carolina to New York to Broadway, and they did the score for the Broadway production, and they performed on Broadway for an extended period of time, I believe, which is a nice outlet. Now, I mentioned Randy's VCLT, Rob the Waxed. I've bought several albums from him, and he's also given me several albums. He threw this album in with a collection that I bought from him the other day, and I thought it was a great selection. John Ray, Traditional Music on the Hammer Dulcimer from 1979. And this is really, really nice. The album of Hammer Dulcimer, a Scottish guy, so traditional Scottish Hammer Dulcimer. But what I actually got from him was 4 jazz records, and I'll share those with you. A reissue from 1983 of Thelonious Monk period, and this, I think usually it's on Columbia, but this is on a different label, Halsey Records. And I noticed when I went on Discogs to record it, whatever label it's normally on, whether it's Columbia or whatever, all these issues and reissues, and then this one time, this Halsey label has a reissue of it, and from '83. And this one, Rob had said, this wasn't one that I paid much for from Rob. Rob had said that, it was maybe VG. It had, some issues because it's a 1958 album. Cleaned it up, and actually cleans up better than VG. Ella Swings Lightly from 1958 on Verve. This is an excellent album. I just can't get enough of Ella Fitzgerald. I don't know. And Oscar Peterson 6 at the Monterey Jazz Fest, 1975 on Pablo Records. And this is Milt Jackson, Joe Pass, Toots, Thiemens, Louis Belson, Niels Peterson, and of course Oscar Peterson. Excellent jazz here. I like that. And kind of a blues jazz New Orleans sound from 1983. I've got a bunch of Dr. John. I say a bunch. I've got a half dozen Dr. John albums now. And I was glad to add this on Clean Cut from 1983. The Brightest Smile in Town. This is mainly just Dr. John and the piano. There's not a lot of accompaniment on it. And finally, I've tried to fill in all my Tony Rice holes in my collection. I'm kind of a completist as far as the vinyl is concerned for Tony Rice. And I was able to get this one. It's very good plus. 1982 Backwaters, Tony Rice. Okay. Backwaters from Tony Rice. So, real excited about that. It's VCLT from Randy, an extra bonus gift from Rob, and some records I bought from him. Some things I picked up on Discogs, things I picked up on the Hoffman forums. Nothing I've gone out to a store and purchased. Everything's been coming through the U.S. Postal Service. And then I want to share with you the equipment that I picked up recently. I just got this from somebody in Idaho, of all places, on the Hoffman forums. This is an amp. It's an Eagle 2 from Electron Kinetics is the name of there you can see it, Electron Kinetics. John C. Iverson, or is it G? John Iverson, anyway, is the owner of that establishment. Interesting backstory on this. He disappeared about 6-7 years. This is about a 1985 amp that he built. His company built. It was about the 400th one of these Eagle 2s, I think, is the serial number, indicating that it's about the 400th, 400 something one. Probably built specifically by him, not by somebody working for him. And he, about 6 or 7 years later, he disappeared. Either murdered or he, went off the grid. There's debate about that. Interesting little side story about him. A machinist may have killed him or may have been set up to appear to have killed him. He was never charged, though. So there are all kinds of crazy stories about this John Iverson. Look him up on the internet and you might be entertained to read a few of them. But this is a really nice, made in Arizona, I believe it is, or Nevada, I can't remember which. And this is a powerful amp here. Never had anything quite this fancy. This is 120 watts per channel at 8 ohm speakers, 200 watts per channel at 4 ohms. And it's it's an amp, not an integrated amp. It's just a standalone amp. So I did have to purchase this it's a passive preamp. So basically all it is a volume control. There's no volume on the Eagle 2. There's nothing, you can't switch balance or anything else. It's just simply powering it. And this thing is powerful. And I have to make sure I always turn there's a shits that I got from Fred Putterman, Friendly Fred, shits phono amp that I got a while back. So I've got a shit phono amp, a shit passive preamp, simply a volume control, to go with this. And I don't have to turn it up to about 3. I mean, that thing puts out some power. So I've been real happy with that. And finally, this is a Sony receiver I picked up, also off the Hoffman Forum sellers. And I'll give you the numbers and everything. For 50 watts per channel. Really nice receiver. I think it's from the early 80s, I believe. Well, that does it for me today. Everybody, remember, be kind to your neighbor, and we're all neighbors. Take care.